Hi, welcome to Elements in Focus. My name is Aaron Rheaume, Director of Financial Planning, and I've got a different face on the screen today. Daren Hardesty is a certified financial planner. Many of you of our families have seen him in the office, whether it's Anderson, Muncie, Lafayette, somewhere in Indianapolis. He is the Indiana world traveler, taking care
Yeah,
of a lot of our families. So, Daren, welcome to Elements in Focus. Our topic today is going to cover the fifth critical element, and that is legacy planning. Last year in the state of Indiana, in March, there was a major rule change to trust planning. So, Daren, can you just elaborate a little bit on that rule change? And then I'll have a couple further questions. And we did record a extra length video, so there is a more in-depth video that Daren and I did record. If you want to know more about the Dynasty Trust, we will have a link in here for a longer video. So welcome, Daren, to Elements in Focus. Can you just explain the changes that took place last March?
absolutely. There was a major change in what's called the rules against perpetuity inside of trust documents. So rules against perpetuity, it's a very legal term, but essentially it is the rule that says how long a trust can last. And this is very state specific. In Indiana, the overall rule is that any trust can last up to 90 years prior to this change. So House Bill 1209 was passed, signed into law by Governor Eric Holcomb, which essentially extended that rule against perpetuity to 360 years. Not sure where they got the number. I can tell you that in Florida, it's 1,000 years. Delaware, it's 110 years. Kentucky, it's on forever. That every state has a different rule, but Indiana was one of the many states that kind of limited that amount of time that a trust can last. This is important because when people are setting up their estate plan, a lot of times they're trying to think not just for their kids, but for their grandkids. And now Indiana has opened up the possibility that you can actually leave things in your trust. And as long as the trust is written properly and has everything, to the letter of the law that allows it, a trust can last much longer now in Indiana, where it can benefit not just your kids, but your grandkids and multiple generations, 4 to 5 generations after you're gone. And so it's a major change. It's opened the door to Dynasty Trusts. And Aaron, I'm not sure how much you want me to go into Dynasty Trusts, but it's obviously, that's now a new development that can be incorporated in Indiana.
Thank you for, Daren, elaborating on the rule change. I do want you to just cover Dynasty Trust in just kind of generality. It is up on the screen. That's what we're talking about. What is a Dynasty Trust, and who could that really affect, or who would be a good candidate for a Dynasty Trust?
So Dynasty Trusts, they're irrevocable trusts. They are designed to limit taxation as assets transfer from one generation to the next. And they really are a very specific niche of the population, because for them to really make sense, your estate needs to be, as of 2025, your estate needs to be essentially over $28 million, which is a very small portion of the population, but they are out there, and there's a lot of people that fall into that category. And the reason why it's more important, a Dynasty Trust is designed for that, is just because there's an estate exclusion tax as far as the amount of money that can transfer from one generation to the next without there being estate taxes applied. And at this point, it has to be more than $28 million. Now, we do have the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It is going to be sunsetting at the end of this year, so December 31st of this year. As of right now, if that does sunset, that $28 million for a married couple could be cut in half. So the amount of people that have an estate that's around $14 million for a married couple, now we're kind of increasing the amount of the population that could qualify. We don't know what's going to happen with the change in the tax code, if it will go back or if it will continue to be at this high amount. But it's definitely something that we're paying attention to. Because for those people who are in that situation, that Dynasty Trust is specifically designed to make sure that the taxes from one generation to the next are limited. And for those people who are in that situation, we're talking millions and millions of dollars that could be saved in taxes by establishing a well-written Dynasty Trust.
Yeah, and another kind of thing that we see often here in Indiana, Daren, right, is landowners. You've got farmers that have had generational farms, and you've got, hundreds of tens of thousands of acres of land. So we have seen that be a benefit to those folks. Anything you want to add there?
Yeah, it's, when we talk with our farmers that we work with, a lot of them have small operations, some very large operations, but I can tell you farmers, they fit this category. And I can almost say that the spirit of this bill being passed was probably more for farmers than it was for, just the general population, business owners. Can't say that for certain, but there's a lot of farmers with large operations in Indiana. And there's nothing worse when you talk with them and you're kind of going through and building a framework for their estate plan, and they realize under the old rules that they can't control that land ownership past their kids or potentially their grandkids. And so a dynasty trust, or even just a well-written revocable living trust that can hold that land for longer than just a 90-year period, it is going to be a very exciting thing for a lot of farmers to know that when they are no longer here, that ground, as long as it's managed properly, should remain in their family for several generations.
Thanks again, Daren, for joining. As I mentioned early in the video, if you have questions or you want a more in-depth look at what the Dynasty Trust is, we will have a link to a longer video that Daren and I recorded. Please reach out to us. Schedule your free Next Steps complimentary meeting, 800-928-4001. You can call our office, or if you have specific questions, send them to talktofeg@yourlifeafterwork.com. If you're watching this from a computer and you have your cell phone in your hand, scan that QR code on the screen, and it will access our schedules to get a meeting set up with us. If you want to reach out to Daren directly, just again, call that 800-928-4001 number. Daren is a big help on our FEG Trust Services side, and we're willing and able and ready to help you out. You guys have a blessed day. Thank you so much for watching Elements in Focus.